Everyone is panicking about Iran mining Kharg Island and the Strait of Hormuz, calling it the ultimate maritime defensive trap. But what if I told you the military command of the US actually wants them to focus their attention and coastal resources there? While armchair generals are hyperventilating about a massive naval sweep and body bags, a completely different modern war has begun. The US has silently shifted to a brutal economic and electronic warfare chokehold that is turning this coastal trap against itself. We are going to decode the classified reality of Operation Hormuz and reveal the true asymmetric war plan happening right now, today. Mainstream networks are telling you that a massive ground invasion is coming to take Kharg Island and unlock the vital waterway. Any real military veteran will tell you that a full frontal amphibious assault is a suicide mission and an absolute tactical joke. True Pentagon OPSEC means the real crippling blow will happen entirely before the IRGC even powers up their coastal radar systems. The Pentagon is not going to send American boots into a dangerous meat grinder just to secure a narrow stretch of mined ocean water. The real operation to crush the IRGC is already happening. It is completely invisible, and it avoids stepping on any Iranian sand. The mainstream media is hyperventilating about the 82nd Airborne Division and thousands of US Marines deploying across the Middle East. They want you to believe a fleet of amphibious assault ships like the USS Tripoli and USS Boxer are preparing for a massive beach landing. This narrative suggests an impending D-Day-style invasion force of nearly 67,000 personnel is getting ready to storm the Iranian coastline. But true Pentagon OPSEC means this highly publicized troop buildup is nothing more than an elaborate diversionary tactic for the cameras. The modern military doctrine dictates that sending conventional infantry against a fortified asymmetric defense network is a massive mistake. We are not going to witness countless landing crafts and transport helicopters unloading vulnerable soldiers into a predetermined kill zone. The Strategic Command understands that Iran relies heavily on asymmetric proxy warfare to counter conventional American ground operations. If the IRGC ever engaged in a purely symmetrical and conventional fight with American aerial power, they would be eradicated in 72 hours. This is exactly why the Pentagon has shifted its operational focus away from a bloody ground war and moved toward total unseen dominance. You must forget the outdated concept of tens of thousands of conventional troops marching through the desert to capture strategic islands. Those heavily armed infantry battalions currently waiting in staging areas are simply holding the line while the real operation commences. The actual combat will take place in the electromagnetic spectrum and the high altitudes where traditional air defense networks are useless. Iran genuinely believes they have established an impenetrable A2AD bubble over the vital waterway using thousands of hidden sea mines. Decades ago, we would need a massive fleet of slow vulnerability-laden sweepers to clear these paths while under constant artillery fire. Today, the Pentagon utilizes next-generation electronic attack platforms capable of projecting immense invisible power across the horizon. High-frequency microwave payloads are specifically designed to radiate massive energy fields to instantly fry advanced circuitry networks. Before a single explosive-laden suicide boat can even start its engine, the advanced electromagnetic pulses will completely neutralize it. US stealth aircraft and standoff munitions are built exactly for this type of conflict, where physical proximity is no longer a necessity. This silent and overwhelming electronic barrier ensures that the deadly underwater labyrinth remains a useless relic of past war theories. The actual striking force of the US military relies entirely on overwhelming aerial dominance rather than vulnerable ground infantry. Advanced stealth fighters like the F-35 are operating continuously over the region to establish an unbreakable intelligence network. We are witnessing a monumental shift away from close air support assets like the aging A-10 Thunderbolt towards stealth capabilities. The advanced sensor suites of these fifth-generation aircraft can effortlessly acquire target locks on hidden coastal missile batteries. Deadly anti-ship systems like the Khalij Fars and Hormuz 2 are painted with absolute precision before they even activate their radars. This interconnected combat network shares critical targeting data instantly across all platforms without needing forward ground observers. These invisible hunting platforms pass their targeting coordinates to standoff munitions launched from completely safe distances. This advanced method of warfare completely eliminates the horrific risk of sending American personnel into a heavily fortified island. By orchestrating this massive symphony of destruction from the sky, the Pentagon systematically shatters the entire defense infrastructure. The true nightmare for the IRGC is the legendary B-52 Stratofortress, carrying massive payloads known by insiders as candles from hell. Forget about deploying 50,000 conventional troops because any American boots on the ground are strictly embedded force recon. These Tier 1 operators are silently painting high-value targets with lasers to guide precision munitions dropped from overhead B-52s. Radar stations and heavily fortified missile silos along with vital command centers will be completely leveled in a matter of minutes. This devastating aerial bombardment allows the U.S. military to destroy enemy infrastructure from a completely safe high altitude. However, they will intentionally leave the massive oil export terminals untouched to demonstrate restraint while crippling the military. This coordinated strategy guarantees that American casualties remain at zero, while delivering a catastrophic blow to the hostile forces. Iran's sophisticated missile arsenal relies heavily on external satellite telemetry provided by foreign superpowers to maintain accuracy. The intelligence feeds from Russia and China are absolutely critical for their ballistic munitions to successfully locate moving targets. This is exactly where the U.S. Space Command steps into the battlefield to completely blind the enemy forces before impact can occur. Advanced electronic warfare platforms will sever these essential data connections while the hostile projectiles are still in mid-flight. By jamming the navigation signals from space, these dangerous weapons are transformed into blind and useless pieces of falling metal. Without reliable orbital guidance, the heavily fortified coastal batteries become completely ineffective against incoming stealth aircraft. This overwhelming electromagnetic suppression guarantees that the Pentagon nullifies the greatest threats without firing a single bullet. The global adversaries attempting to support this hostile regime will find their orbital assets blocked by superior American technology. Mastering the invisible domain of space and the electromagnetic spectrum is the ultimate key to achieving flawless asymmetric dominance. The original script highlighted the terrifying threat of explosive drone swarms designed to overwhelm American naval vessels in the Gulf. Iran specifically relies on this asymmetric proxy warfare because a symmetrical fight against our aerial forces would end very rapidly. But these highly touted drone swarms are rendered utterly useless against next-gen electronic attack platforms operating in the region. High-frequency microwave payloads will effortlessly fry their delicate circuitry in mere milliseconds without using traditional arms. The incoming swarm of unmanned aerial vehicles will simply drop into the ocean waters before successfully identifying maritime targets. The Pentagon is heavily deploying these advanced Ukrainian-tested drone killer tactics to neutralize the massive airborne threat instantly. This incredible display of silent electronic warfare entirely eliminates the need for deploying dangerous, conventional defensive weapons. Iran assumes that saturating the airspace will overwhelm our defensive layers and force a conventional kinetic engagement from our Navy. Instead, they will watch helplessly as their most advanced asymmetric weapons power down and fall silently into the dark Persian waters. The American military absolutely does not need to enter the heavily mined waterway to completely halt all Iranian crude oil exports. They can easily establish a comprehensive maritime blockade located in the deep and unprotected open waters of the vast Indian Ocean. By seizing massive oil tankers in international waters, they completely bypass the heavily fortified coastal defenses of the enemy force. This highly effective Venezuela-style seizure tactic safely cripples their fragile economy without risking any expensive naval assets. There is absolutely no strategic need to dangerously clear the extensive defensive minefields scattered near the massive island ports. The superior naval coalition can effortlessly choke the vital financial revenue streams from thousands of miles away from the conflict. This brilliant asymmetric strangulation tactic renders the entire impenetrable coastal defense network completely and utterly worthless. As you know, President Trump unexpectedly suspended all kinetic attacks against the hostile regime for a highly publicized 10-day period. The mainstream media immediately interpreted this temporary pause as a desperate signal for a ceasefire or preparation for ground combat. In reality, this strategic delay is the perfect window to completely tighten an absolute economic strangulation without firing a weapon. The Pentagon is utilizing every single second to silently coordinate the massive maritime blockade, preventing any crude oil from moving. If this vital energy flow is completely severed, the aggressive military machine of the IRGC simply grinds to a devastating financial halt. A country seeking to launch the largest ground operation in modern history does not simply wait around for diplomatic negotiations to fail. They use this time frame to deploy advanced electronic assets into optimal positions before the final negotiation window officially closes. At the end of these 10 days, the military will not send vulnerable infantry, but will instead activate a totally invisible global siege. You must completely forget about those 50,000 conventional troops waiting in the hot desert sands for a massive deployment. If anyone is actually operating on the hostile ground today, it is strictly embedded force recon and elite Tier 1 operators. These highly specialized and totally invisible ghost units are silently painting critical targets for overhead stealth bombers. Sending a massive infantry division to capture heavily fortified enemy terrain is an obsolete strategy from a forgotten era. True operational security dictates that these incredibly brave warriors remain entirely undetected by the coastal defense nets. Iran relies heavily on asymmetric proxy warfare because they know a symmetrical and conventional fight is an absolute death trap. A single, highly trained operator utilizing advanced laser designations can deliver more destruction than an entire armored unit. Their primary covert mission is to silently neutralize isolated radar stations before the devastating aerial bombardment begins. Here at America's Dispatch, we absolutely understand that this modern conflict requires zero conventional boots on the ground. I completely understand the deep fears many of you have regarding the catastrophic loss of American lives in a massive ground war. Sending our brave sons and daughters into a dangerous meat grinder for a foreign conflict is a devastating thought for any patriot. This is exactly why embracing this modern asymmetric strategy is the absolute smartest way to aggressively project American power. By fully relying on total aerial supremacy and advanced electronic warfare, we perfectly ensure that no American blood is ever spilled. An America First military doctrine demands that we annihilate our adversaries from a safe distance while keeping our troops secure. We can easily crush the aggressive ambitions of the enemy forces without sacrificing a single U.S. Marine on a foreign hostile beach. The ultimate display of military strength is not measured by body bags, but by our complete technological and electromagnetic dominance. Savvy veteran commenters like Leonidas Systems absolutely understand that protecting our incredibly brave warriors is the highest priority. There is also massive activity on the coalition front as global allies prepare to actively enforce this total maritime blockade. International partners absolutely share our common strategic interests regarding the ultimate security of global energy shipments. The UK aircraft carrier HMS Queen Elizabeth is currently stationed in the region to project incredible Allied naval deterrence. The Combined Naval Task Force is highly prepared to intercept any hostile vessels attempting to break through the defensive line. France is sending the Charles de Gaulle to heavily reinforce U.S. air superiority and significantly enhance maritime security. These powerful coalition vessels will completely avoid direct ground operations while strengthening the deep ocean strangulation. So, I leave this massive strategic question directly to you, and I want to hear your honest thoughts in the comment section below. Is the U.S. military holding back its ultimate electronic warfare capabilities just to avoid sparking a wider regional conflict? Or is the Pentagon playing right into a massive strategic trap set by Russia and China to slowly drain valuable American resources? Please let me know your detailed tactical assessment in the comments below so we can decode this geopolitical situation together.